Good day to you. Welcome to Nuggets of Gold. A little bit heavy-hearted this morning. It's been a week of some extra wrestling with parental difficulties. It's been, political climate got me down a bit, and just watching the world that we live in, watching the culture, watching the way people are treating people got me down a little bit today. And as I went for my run this morning, a particular verse came to mind that reminded me that the Bible knows us. And the Bible speaks to us of the kind of world that we live in. And this is going to be our nugget for today. 2 Corinthians 3 gives a description of the kind of culture or how culture begins to look when we begin to distance ourselves from God, or when we begin to give ourselves permission to kind of put God in the back pocket and think that we're all good. 2 Corinthians 3 verse 1. And I'm going to read a couple of verses here. It's a long list of a description of what God says we will look like when we kind of turn away from Him. It says this: in the last days, there will come times of difficulty because people will be lovers of self, lovers of money, proud, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, heartless, unappeasable, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not loving good, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. Now, this verse doesn't bring me a lot of excitement, this section, but it does bring me a lot of clarity. It brings me a reminder that God knows us better than we know ourselves. God understands what cultures are going to look like when they depart from His ways. And so many things on this list just ring a tragic bell. They just bang the gong of this is what we're seeing. And I want us to think on this for a couple more minutes here as, is this what I'm seeing in the mirror? Is this what I'm seeing in my family? Is this what I'm seeing in my culture? And if it is, what can I do? What can I do individually to be influenced by God more than influenced by the forces around me that are taking things in this direction? Whether it's in the mirror, in my family, with my kids, or in my culture. So let's just walk back through, and I've got a couple thoughts on a few of these on this list. The first thing says, people will be lovers of self. You guys, you understand that this is what has been the highest promoted value in American school, in American movies, in American culture for the last decade, 2 decades, 3 decades. You have to love yourself. Love yourself. You can't do anything else in this world of value until you love yourself. And here it says, when someone is a lover of themselves, it will bring difficulty. Now, I do think there is immense value in learning to honor ourselves, respect ourselves, draw boundaries with what we do with our bodies, because we know that we were made by God and we are valuable. But that's not what this is talking about. This is saying, I put me first. The very last description in this list is that people will be lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. And that's what I think being a lover of self means. I put my feelings first. I put my likes first. I put my wants first. I put me first. I'm a lover of me. Before I listen to what God says, before I care what anybody else is saying. And this is what discouraged me around my home this week, is I have, a couple kids who just have looked at me point blank when I'm trying to coach them, correct them, encourage them towards a godly path. They're looking at me and saying, I don't care. Hey, do you know that you hurt your brother with what you said? I don't care. Hey, do you know that you ignored what we had asked you to do with your schedule or your chores today? I don't care. Whoa! That's a lover of self. I don't care. I don't care what it does to anybody else. And that's some of the things on this list. It says people will be proud, arrogant, and abusive. I'm going to be arrogant. I'm going to think so highly of myself that I can mistreat you and I don't care. Or it says people will be ungrateful. I think we live in a deeply ungrateful culture right now. People forgetting the amazing abundance of what American culture provides, food-wise, health-wise, riches. We're pretty ungrateful. Then it goes on to unappeasable. Unappeasable. You can't be appeased. You can't listen. You can't be reasoned with. You think it's your way, and that's the best way, and that's the only way. This says people will be without self-control and brutal. I think we've seen some of this on the news the last couple weeks. And anyway, the list goes on. We're running out of time. I'm a little heavy-hearted, but remember, God knows us best, and God's way leads to life. When we depart from God's way, it leads to harm, it leads to destruction, it leads to sorrow. And God's way leads to life and joy. Let's pray together for ourselves, for our families, for our culture, that we'd run in God's way. See you next time.